Fernando Alonso to Mercedes, it couldn't happen really, could it? Let's be honest, it just couldn't happen. Fernando Alonso has been linked with the Mercedes seat for 2025. Toto Wolff has recently had a meeting, dinner with his manager, and let's be real, it can't be the right thing to do. We've recently made videos on who I think will replace Lewis Hamilton, so make sure you check that out after you've checked this one out, and make sure you've hit that subscribe button. So in this video, I'm going to get into why I don't think Fernando Alonso is the right man to take over Lewis Hamilton's mantle at Mercedes. And to start off with, really, you've got to look at George Russell. Now, George Russell has seen Lewis Hamilton move teams now to Ferrari. At the end of the year, George Russell will want to become the team leader. Now, if you bring in someone of the calibre of Fernando Alonso, then you don't really have that team leader status for George Russell. And it's going to be another situation where George Russell is not going to be playing second fiddle, because I don't think Mercedes do that. But it's going to be another situation where George Russell is put up against another double world champion and the rest, race winner. And George Russell is going to be like, well, what have I got to do to lead this team? Now, well, I'm jumping in the middle of this video to tell you to hit that red button down below. We're trying to hit 200 subscribers by the beginning of March. We've got just 17 days to do it. Can you hit that subscribe button and the like button and let me know what you're enjoying about this video down in the comments. I'll let you get back to the video now. George Russell is probably the future of Mercedes, along with Kimi Antonelli, maybe even Paul Aron in F2. So keep your eyes peeled for those drivers. And it's like, George Russell, he's going to really, in my opinion, struggle with seeing someone along the lines of Fernando Alonso come in. For me, I think for the best of George Russell, I think what George Russell needs is someone under him, not someone who's going to come in and straight away be on a level playing field. George Russell needs to have that leadership role. And to be honest with you, it all starts during the 2024 season. Will he be able to take the mantle off Lewis Hamilton? Will he be able to beat him over the course of a season, despite the fact Lewis is leaving? Now, I think there's going to be a few contextual things that come into play in 2024 with Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. But I do think George Russell is ready for that leadership role. So I think that is one reason why Fernando Alonso is the wrong person for this role. Now, they didn't offer Lewis Hamilton a 3-year contract and an ambassadorial role because they were scared of him retiring. There's loads of rumours about the commitment from the board of Mercedes to Lewis Hamilton, and they didn't have the trust that he would see out his career at Mercedes, that he wouldn't just drop a retirement on them, similar to Nico Rosberg in 2016. So they tried to cover their own backs with a 1+1. It gave them the opportunity to look at someone along the lines of Kimi Antonelli in 2025 and 2026 to see if he could take over from Lewis Hamilton. Now, for me, not offering Lewis Hamilton a long-term deal essentially, for me, rules out Fernando Alonso. Because Fernando Alonso is, 4 or 5 years older than Lewis Hamilton. And if they then gave Fernando Alonso a 2-year deal for 25-26, it's like, well, why didn't you just give Lewis the 3 years that he wanted? You'd still have one of your most successful drivers ever, if not the most successful driver ever in Formula 1 in the team, and someone who's massively important. And it just seems like if Mercedes make that decision, it will be the wrong decision. Now, we know Fernando Alonso has been in contract discussions with Aston Martin since around the end of last season, and that contract hasn't been signed. It hasn't been sealed. And for me, I think that's because Fernando knew what was coming. I think a lot of the drivers knew before Mercedes themselves. So it's one of those where I feel like if Mercedes offer a longer term deal to Alonso, which keeps until the end of 26, then they might as well have just kept Lewis Hamilton, because Alonso is going to be 45, maybe 46 at the end of the 2026 season, and Lewis Hamilton's going to be 41, 42. So it's like, if you're going to take on a Fernando Alonso, then why wouldn't you keep Lewis Hamilton, who is arguably a better driver than Fernando Alonso? I think the statistics speak volumes, and I think Lewis Hamilton has shown that he is better than Alonso. You look at the statistics, you look at his rookie season. So it's one of those where I think it would be a bad decision by Mercedes again to take Fernando Alonso. There's also plenty of other drivers on the grid who I think could do a better job in the role than Fernando Alonso. Now, not necessarily come in and be straight on it straight away, but obviously you look at, there's a lot of pressure on Kimi Antonelli at the minute by the media. They think he's the star plan for Mercedes, but Alonso is plan B. Now, for me, I think if he goes and performs well in Formula 2, this is Kimi Antonelli, then I think he's got to get that Mercedes seat. He just has, like, he is a Mercedes junior driver. This has been the goal from the start when they picked him up, when I think he was about 13. And for me, if he goes wins F2, or is even in the championship battle for Formula 2, then he's got to be number one for the Mercedes seat for me, because you're not going to get Alex Albon, because Red Bull are reportedly putting their cards on the table for a deal for 2026 onwards. It was rumoured to be for 2025, but now boundaries have changed and now it's 2026 for 3 years and all that, to play second fiddle to Max in the new regulations. But then who takes the Red Bull seat for 25? That's a seat that could be available for Alonso, Ricciardo, Pierre Gasly maybe. You look at, there's lots of drivers available. You even look at Mercedes' options with Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly, Mick Schumacher. There's a load of drivers available that are younger, could help develop the Mercedes team, and they could build a new identity essentially away from being a Lewis Hamilton team, because that's what they are at the moment. Like, I think at the end of this season, sponsor-wise, I think they're going to see a huge drop-off. I think performance-wise, they'll see a huge drop-off. And obviously, in driver ability, they're going to see a huge drop-off. Obviously, I do think George Russell is very good, but he's not on the level of Lewis Hamilton. I don't think anybody on the grid is, not even Max Verstappen. Now, there's also been rumours linking Max Verstappen to move to Mercedes for 25, 26. Now, I personally can't see that happening. I believe he's got a long-term deal at Red Bull till the end of 2029. But that's just another reason why Fernando Alonso is the wrong choice. Now, unless Fernando Alonso is literally a stopgap for a year, it doesn't make sense to put him in that Mercedes seat. Now, you should let me know down below in the comments what you think about Fernando Alonso to Mercedes. Who do you think is going to get the seat? Now, for me, I personally think it should be Kimi, or it should be, so if it's not Kimi Antonelli, it should be Esteban Ocon or Mick Schumacher, something along them lines. It shouldn't be someone of Fernando Alonso who is going to essentially take leadership away from George Russell. He's only coming in to suit himself. Now, he spoke about loyalty in a recent interview, but it's shown throughout his career that that isn't something that he possesses. So, for me, it has to be Kimi or an Esteban Ocon or something like that. And I just think that Fernando Alonso is the wrong decision. But obviously, make sure you let me know down in the comments who you think is going to get that seat at Mercedes. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in my next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.